What's up guys, and welcome to another video. And today I'm going to be showcasing the rune changes for the November month. So after rune removal I usually will do a video to show you the main units I changed. So because there's a lot of units, I'm going to just like very briefly touch on the ones that I didn't really change that much. So they'll be fairly quickly. The runes will be shown very quickly. So if you want to pause, you can pause to look at the rune if you want, but I'll only really focus on the ones that were changed very heavily. Okay, alright, to start with we've got Megan, and she only got very minor upgrades. She's still built the same way as last time. So she's on Will Nemesis, Will to protect against Leos and stuff like that, and Nemesis so that she can get the attack bar when Leo hits her. So she's there as an attack bar booster for both my Lucian teams and also the anti-Leo teams. Okay, so Shaolin, she's only gotten some minor upgrades, and that was from mostly grindstones, and the slot 6 is the only rune that I swapped around. Alright, so basically I regrinded some of the runes to get them to max grindstone rolls, and that's pretty much it. This is the only like new rune I got for her. It's almost the same as before, except that I think she got like a bit of resistance instead of flat stat as opposed to the previous one. Okay, Ariel. So Ariel, I've only did some minor changes. So usually, like when I rune Ariel, he's like one of the last units I rune up. So the main reason I rune him is for 1 world boss and 2 as like a backup healer. So or if I specifically need a water healer. So for example, if I bring in a Maida and a water DPS against Perna, then I will usually use Ariel as the healer for that. Apart from that, he doesn't get a lot of use because I generally prefer Sun to heal. Okay, this is Orion. Orion is one of the many units that got a new rune overhaul again. So last time I changed him back to Swift, this time I went back to Violent again. And the reason I put him on Violent is because I'm using him with Rakan on AD. And the reason that he's on Violent is because he doesn't need the Swift to move first, because Rakan is pretty slow. Alright, if I could make my Rakan faster, then it'd be worth putting Orion on Swift. But because Rakan wouldn't be able to keep up with a Swift Orion anyway, I changed him to Violent to make him do more over the long term, especially because the team is supposed to be like a bit of like a it's supposed to drag the fight on a bit. It's Rakan, Orion and Eladriel. So I think most people will target the Orion, right? And meanwhile Rakan is there to do some damage. Hopefully Orion has done like a defense break so that Rakan can focus that guy, and he's self-buffing, right? And then Eladriel is there to keep the team up. And yeah, he's on Violence so that he's also a lot more annoying to fight against, right? And we'll move on. So Rina, these are her stats, right? She doesn't. I usually only swap around like a rune here and there, and that's because usually the rune is taken for someone else, and therefore I sort of have to like semi build her again. And but in the end, she's generally used like similar stats as before, about 40k HP, max resist, and hopefully like a decent amount of defense. As per like usual, each month I usually keep Rina on this set. Destroy, Shield, Will, and this one is for Guild Wars. So if I ever need to use one in Guild Wars, this is the one I use. And it's because like the sets have a lot of utility. So she's on Will so that she has protection against things like Sierra. Shield is so that she can bring the shield set for the team against Orion teams if I'm bringing it in against that. And Destroy is just give her a bit of like to allow her to do something other than just sit there and tank, right? She can slowly whittle away people's health. This is the second arena. So the second arena has better stats than the other one because it's on like more broken-ish sets. Like I'm not using like Destroy and Shield on her. She's still on Will because I think if you're doing a stall comp, it's best to put him on Will just to make it more annoying to kill. Apart from that, she doesn't really need any other particular set. Nemesis is not bad if you can get good HP sets like on her. Otherwise, just give her as much HP as you can. Right, she's just there to stall against, for the like last few minutes of rush. Okay, so this is my Galleon. Galleon, I modified his speed so that he's like, well, I couldn't really get him any faster than this, so I made it so that he's faster than my main nukers, at least, and now he's on Violent Will. So Will is because when I use on an offense, right, I want to be able to interchange the teams, right? So especially in Guild Wars, sometimes I want to use a Will shield team, so therefore I want to put him on Will, and Violent is just like a good all-round set. He doesn't have to be on Violent. I think Shield Will would be pretty decent too if you can get him to fast enough. But yeah, this one I like Violent because it gives him an extra chance of defense break if he if he fails the time to loot. And yeah, so the Will is for protection against, like, if I have to go second, right, because I have to be outsped by, say, an Orion, then at least he's got the Will protection against defense break, and I'll bring another unit, like a DPS unit that has shield runes to add the extra layer of beneficial effects. Okay, field mass hasn't changed, so I'm just going to go through his runes real quick, so you can pause if you need to. And yeah, this is like standard sort of build, not much to it. Okay, this is Rakan. 1 second. So this build is for Necro, right? I used to use it in the Fire Dungeon, except I found like a better team to instead. So he's pretty much exclusively for Necro B10 now, and he's just on Violent Revenge so that he's got the most chances to proc additional attacks to do multi-hits, and just like a standard sort of attack or attacker build. Except he's got crit rate on slot 4 because I just wanted to make use of these crit rate runes and leave the crit damage runes for other units, and also because I use attack power lead, so I don't need, well, I mean, I need the crit rate more than like additional damage, right? So I try to make up the crit damage using the substats, right? Okay, so this is my Tark. This Tark I use in DB10 and in some of the raids, the beast raids I mean, and this is on Blade Fight. The reason I gave him double Blade is just because I needed him to give him the crit rate, because I didn't want to give him like super main main runes. I just wanted to give him like, first off, I want to give him at least one fight set, right? So he can like provide that buff to the rest of the team. Ideally he would be on like more fight runes, but I don't have enough yet, so I'm gonna craft some more in the future, and hopefully I can put him on like triple fight later on. Okay, so this is Stella. Stella I use in DB10 and some of the beast raids for her branding effect, and she's also on Swift Fight. She doesn't have to be on any particular set. For DB10 I think Violent is pretty good, but not necessary. And I like the fight runes again, like for these DPS units that don't particularly need a set, because it's just more efficient in terms of adding damage for your whole team, right? If you stack, like, it's basically adding 5 lots of 7% to your whole team, as opposed to running a 4-piece set like Fatal that gives only 40% attack percent, right? So overall, since everyone's DPS in the team, it's adding benefits to the team. Okay, now Verad, I rebuilt him again because I wanted to make him a DPS, right, or DPS in the sense that he'll be speed, crit damage, attack, but I couldn't get the substats to make him fast enough and have high crit rate, so I decided just to leave him as a like a TOA build. So I just gave him some defense runes left over. You can do defense or HP for this, it doesn't matter if you're just making him as a support. But if you want to do DPS, then I think you want to do like a defense crit damage defense build, or speed crit damage defense, something like that. He does do respectable damage, and he's pretty decent on arena offense. The reason is because he's good. It's a decent counter against things like Duet, because you reset the attack bar, and then your units don't have to worry about getting cut in. It also helps counter Nemesis runes as well. He's sort of like a poor man's Poseidon. Like Poseidon is better because he does better damage, and he scales off attack power as opposed to having to scale off defense. But I don't have a Poseidon, so I wanted to use Verad for that purpose, but I couldn't get him to the stats that I needed him yet. Hopefully in the future I will. And this is Praa. Praa has gained a little bit of speed. I think her HP maybe dipped slightly, but not by a lot. And I'll show you the rune that I changed. There's only one rune that I really changed, which is slot 5. So it was this rune. It has more speed than the old rune, but it doesn't have HP yet. I'm looking for a HP enchant to put on this, and then should be pretty good, I think. Right, but at the moment she's still pretty decent. I just put it. I usually only use her for AD anyway. I'm almost considering changing her to double Nemesis Will if I'm only using her on AD. But I don't have the team lineup for that I would like. I would like her to be on like double Nemesis for a really tanky team, but I don't really have that built right now. So maybe in the future I need one more good AD unit that's really tanky to make it work. That has good threat as well, so something like a Beast Malk or a Camilla. Okay, so this is my second Galleon. This Galleon I use in PvE, right? So this one is got the same speed as well, so that this has the same speed as the first Galleon. This is so that I have a backup in case the other one dies. This one is also a DPS build to give him more damage for PvE, and also as like just an alternative build in case I need it. But the main thing is it's on Violent, and yeah, so I use this one for dragons and also giants, just so that he adds a little bit more damage compared to the other one. And in case the other Galleon dies, I can still use this one. It's still synced towards the same as like everyone else, but I don't have wall runes, so that means I can only use it if I use Bernard as well. Like this is being in Guild Wars offense, right? So yeah, that's why I have a second one built. And this is my tour. So this is this is the first tour with Violent. Alright, that's the stats. He's got a bit of an upgrade. He used to be a bit slower, and what I have found was that when because of that, he got cut in sometimes. So like some units cut in after a Bernard buff. So I tried to buff up his speed a bit, and now it's like well above 200. It used to be about 200. I think he gained 6 speed, so he's at 206 now. I haven't encountered anyone cutting in yet. I need to test it a bit more against people, but so far so good, right? I think I just needed to bump him up to at least 205, and then that would have been the sweet spot. Okay, so this is Beth. Beth, I don't think she's changed that much either, but she's just for beast raids at the moment. Alright, she's on the Violent because her second skill cools down. Sorry, has a 2-turn cooldown, and therefore, with Violent it helps cool down a lot quicker. Nemesis runes is no particular reason except that it just has good substats, and I was able to reach the substats with the Nemesis runes. And Nemesis is pretty nice in general anyway for PvE. So if you're only using her like units in PvE, don't be afraid to use Nemesis DPS sets, right? So don't just automatically sell them, keep them around. You might find a use for it. Worst case scenario, you can use it as a broken set. Because like for arena offense monsters, you don't really want to put anyone on Nemesis for as an attacker, right? Because you might get bumped in front of your Galleon or something like that, and it's very awkward. But it's good as a broken set or just for like PvE where it doesn't matter if they get pushed, like pushed up in front. Okay, so this is Miang. So Miang's an R5 unit. I haven't used her in anywhere else yet. But yeah, she's gained some speed, and I believe so she's gained attack power but lost crit rate. And the reason is because I swapped her slot 4. It used to be crit rate on slot 4, but now it's attack percent on slot 4. And the reason I did that is because it makes her heal for more. Okay, so I wanted to stack as much attack power as possible onto her, and give her as much speed as well so that she can keep up. And then give her some respectable DPS stats, so like a little bit of crit rate where I could afford to get it, and some crit damage, just to give her extra damage in raids, right? It helps speed up the run, and combined with a lot of the fight runes, she heals for like a very large chunk of the health bar. Probably you can, if you imagine how much a Praa would heal, she heals for a similar amount on these runes, at least in raids. Okay, so this is Bastet. So Bastet, I tried to build her for PvE. So, sorry, not PvE, Guild Wars defense, my bad. So I built her to try to pair her with Grogo, but the team didn't really work out. So I'm probably going to change her again. What I'm going to change it to, I'm not too sure, but most likely I'll try something like a alternative to Megan or something. So I don't know, I'll see. I find her a bit, I don't really like her that much still, because even if I use her as a replacement for Megan, it's tough because she doesn't have she has defense buff, defense lead instead of attack lead. So at least Megan has a Rina attack lead, whereas Bastet doesn't add any damage to Lucians. So I couldn't run I can't really run triple Lucian as effectively, since they're not getting an attack buff, right? Also attack power buff. But she does make it easy to speed sync, so I don't know. I'll fiddle around with her a bit more. Okay, so this is Samar or Summer D. I think it's supposed to be pronounced, but I think it's more commonly known as P Sama, and he's on Despair Will. So P Sama's build, right? Generally, if you're going to use him on AD, it's better to have him on Nemesis. But Nemesis, as I said before, earlier, it's not very good for PvP. Because I tried him on Nemesis before, and if I get outspared, he'll randomly get pushed in front of Galleon, and that's very awkward in my opinion. So I changed him back to Will, so that, because Will is still fine on defense, right? It still protects you against Osiris. It just adds like an extra layer of protection, because if they had to bring a buff stripper like Aquila or something, then at least you have like that extra RNG to protect your Pisama from getting reset. But if they have Tiana, then it's gonna be like you're gonna be burned either way. But yeah, like on offense as well, it's a lot better to have Will. So since I'm using him for both AD and AO, I put him on Will instead. But as I said, if I was only going to use him exclusively on AD, then Nemesis would be preferred on the offset. Okay, Avarice. So Avarice, I actually was trying him out during Guild Wars Rush last week. So if you want to check him out in action, you can check out the past video on my Twitch channel. I'll have to remember to highlight it as well, so that it's still there for future, for people to watch it later on. But yeah, I built him as like a damage dealer so that he can counter Pernas, right? And like someone asked me, like, you have Raki, why would you build Avarice, right? And the reason is because Perna is usually paired with Galleon, and if there's a Galleon there, he'll threaten to kill my Raki. And I don't really want to give Raki more like Devilmon or a lot more stronger sets, because I'd rather use the best sets on my main units, and Raki's not really a main unit. Whereas Avarice, he's water, so he doesn't take as much damage from from Galleon, right? He doesn't, or there's a less chance for him to crit if he doesn't have max crit. Like there's no element of advantage, and also I can pair him with an aerial lead, so give him more HP. So he has a better chance to survive, basically, right? And I thought he was pretty decent, right? He does pretty respectable damage, even without defense break and attack power buff. So he's not bad. I think he's if you need a unit to kill Pernas more easily than otherwise, then you can consider building an Avarice. Okay, moving on, we have Alicia. So Alicia I use for AO as well, and she's on the Shield Blade. Ideally, I would like her to be on Will, but I don't have enough quality runes to put her on Will as well. She was like a bit less priority because I prioritize Zyros over her for obvious reasons. But she is still very good, like as a water nuker. But I do have Tail already as a water nuker, so I didn't need it that badly. So I sort of dropped her down in priority, and she's still pretty good. Like she reaches the speed I need her to be at. She's good against some teams, so sometimes Zyros may not be suitable for a team, and I swap him out for Alicia instead. But obviously she's a very strong monster, and I'm looking forward to when they release the transmog. Hopefully it's this week sometime, or it should be this week, I'd say. Okay, so this is my Homunculus. Homunculus I've changed. He used to be wind, right? He was fire. My bad. When I was building him for rune removal, he was fire, and the reason I have him on like this sort of build was to make him similar to like a Tor or a Teshar, because I have Tor and Teshar as my single target burst nukers, right? I wanted a fire version of that, and the fire Homunculus was pretty good for that. But then I had the idea to use him in my Dragons B10 team. Actually, like YDCB made a video like the day after I thought of this as well, and I was testing it out. And basically, I was using him for DB10. I'll show you the build as well. I did make a video on this actually, but just so you know, it's this Frost Ray Purifier, buff removal, max HP damage on second skill and defense break, and third ability is maxed HP damage and reset attack bar to 0. Right, so this kit is, I feel, really good for DB10, like speed runs at least. And so far he's made my team much more consistent. I haven't failed yet. Fingers crossed it stays that way, but at least it's far more consistent than it used to be. Okay, now moving on, this is my second Teor, so I actually haven't been using this yet, right? I did rune him up because I wanted to have him there in case, like in case I want to test something out with him. But he's on just like standard sort of DPS runes. If you can't give him violent, obviously I'd say give him fatal. That's I would say it's the best set if you have the quality, like the rune quality, right? And I was originally planning to do double tail DB10. I thought it would be a good safe team, but it turns out it wasn't. Maybe it's because he's not max skill, but I don't really want to invest Devilmon into a second tail, so I'm just leaving him as he is. He's just like, he's on my, I wanted him at least on my island, you know, to look awesome. Okay, this is Yaku. So Yaku, I built him one for World Boss and second to try him out in DB10. It was safer than running Tor, right? So, which is very interesting because Tor has my better runes, but I did find that Yaku made it a bit more consistent than Tor, but still failed occasionally. So that's why I changed it to Homunculus. I also tried him in GB10. He was decent, but again was still failing. Like occasionally, not very often, but it's enough that I wanted to try something else, and I'll get to the unit that I replaced him with a bit later. But he is pretty decent. He's good in ray base as well. Good single target damage, and he's got ignore defense on the third ability, which is quite nice for helping kill the boss during the non-groggy stage where you can't defense break him. Alright, so he's also like a good free-to-play unit for, or sort of free-to-play. He's not like farmable, but he isn't that free, so he's not that hard to obtain. And he's good as a single target DPS for Dragon's B10. So if you're looking for like a more free-to-play version, and if you haven't farmed the Homunculus, you can use a combination of Tark and Yaku, and then some other, like you probably still need Galleon and Verd, and then one more damage dealer. Maybe a second Tark would work as well. So yeah, that's an option for people who are looking for units for their speed DB10 run. But I stress you do need pretty good runes to make it, pretty consistent. Okay, moving on. This is my Ralk. So Ralk hasn't changed. I actually haven't changed any of my Necro units except for Huahi. Alright, so all the damage dealers are still the same. Just because I wanted to minimize the amount of work I was doing for that rune removal, because the event rune removal is not the best timing for me. Whereas if I were to buy the rune removal pack, I can buy it anytime I want, right? Or I should say I can use pop it whenever I want, and therefore I could start use it at the start of the day, and I have the whole day to work on stuff. But I didn't have that luxury, for like the event, because it starts at like my night time. So I have like a few hours, then I sleep, then wake up again, and I have to continue on. And it's kind of hard to do that, especially when I have to do Guild Wars as well, right? So that's why I usually don't stream during rune removal as well. Okay, so this is my Chloe. So Chloe again is pretty much the same as before. I did have to swap the runes around, but a little bit, but similar sort of build. I made her 2 speeds slower than my Fuel Mars, and that will make her move straight after him, right? So the idea is that she'll let Fuel Mars move first, and then I'll buff and protect the team with her Fanatic buff, right? So that no one wastes the immunity if she were to move first, at least, right? Because everyone's on shield, sorry, not shield, will, and she also has a shield set to protect during the first turn. That way, everything should survive. Like Phil Mars, worst case scenario, he's like the most squishy guy. Worst case scenario, he'll have Endure, right? And therefore, I can protect him and then give him time to be healed up at Jasun. So that's why the usual team I use Chloe with is Phil Mars, Chloe, Jasun, and that's against the Orion teams, especially like Sierra Orion. And she's on Will Shield, Destroy. Similar reasons to Chloe, because I don't need, sorry, not Chloe, Rina, because I don't need her to be particularly fast, so that's why she's not on Swift. So therefore, I can just give her Will Shield, Destroy, and that gets her to the speed I need her to be at. Okay, Beretta's runes aren't really that interesting, mostly because he's just there for TOA hard, right? I don't use him for anything else. But he has like one of my best despair sets, because I swapped out a lot of despair units, so he just happens to get like some of the best stuff. But I'll probably move these to another unit soon. Alright, so like I think he's got the 3rd best despair set I have. The first 2 being Praa and Brian. But yeah, I'll probably change him later on. Okay, so this is my Verd. So Verd, you can see here that he's not actually that fast, and the reason is because he doesn't need to be that fast for DB10, which is where like the only place I really use him. Because I actually want him to move last, so that everyone's already moved, and then he boosts attack bar, so to allow them to jump up more. Because there's no point for him to move first, because everyone after him will already have nearly max attack bar, right? So him boosting first, like as the first unit in the team, makes no sense, right? So that's why I make him move last, and for that reason he's on attack percent on slot 2, right? So that's why it's attack percent there. Ideally I would make him attack crit damage attack, but I don't have enough substats to do that yet, and I gave him a fight set for his offset because he doesn't really, in a YOLO team, right? he's not really going to get hit very much, maybe once or twice maximum, right, on the boss. That's if I'm unlucky, and therefore he doesn't really need revenge, right? So the best set I can give him is either Blade to help get him to max crit, or give him Fight so that he can boost his own damage a little bit and also boost everyone else's damage. So I went with Fight. Okay, so Arnold, I built him just in case I needed to use him for Guild Wars offense, and he's just as tanky as possible. Will shield, just like a standard sort of will shield, usage. I think will shield's probably one of the best things, best combinations for Guild Wars offense. It just helps protect you like so much, so easily, and it sort of allows you to use Violent runes on other units and stuff like that, or Despair runes. Arnold doesn't particularly need anything, like any particular set, right? So you just give him Will Shield. He can help be the shield bearer for your team, and Will just to protect him on turn 1 against Galleon and Orion and stuff like that. This Chloe is not ruined. She's just there for island decoration, actually, for obvious reasons. Okay, so moving on to Hua. So this Hua, you probably noticed that she's been slowed down a lot. She used to be 200 speed, but the reason she's slowed down a lot is because I took her off Swift and gave her Fight runes for raids, right? Because this is a raid build, 82% crit rate, so that she has max crit with her own leader skill, and one revenge set just to give her that extra RNG proc. Since revenge doesn't count as an attack on the boss, it doesn't add any turn counters, and therefore it's sort of like free damage, right? So I like having one revenge set and then 2 aura runes for raid units, because they typically don't need to be on any particular set, so they don't need Violent for most of them. The only ones on Violent are going to be your cleansers and maybe your main healer. And yeah, so that way I took off the Swift runes and gave them to other units, and yeah, so she's been working out pretty well. Her being a bit slower is not the worst, right? The reason it's not the worst is because at least, like, what will happen is all the debuffs will go on first, right? So if she's too fast, she might move too early and there's no defense break or attack buff on her. Whereas if she's moving, like, sort of in the middle, at least someone should have defense broke the boss already by then, right? And my Colleen should have buffed attack by then, so therefore she'll do. It's better for speed sinking purposes, basically. Alright, so moving on to Colleen. So Colleen, I changed her a little bit again. She's on. I think she used to be on a lot more tankier runes, but I had to move some stuff around. So cause she was on Violent before. I think she was on like triple defense or defense HP or something, but I gave her Fight runes now, right? For same reason as Hua, just to give her more utility, because she didn't really need to be on Violent, right? I feel that she heals enough of Violent. Like a lot of people are switching out of Violent for Colleen. But if you're struggling to keep your team alive, then maybe you want to consider using Violent still, but I like the extra attack power for my team for more damage. If not Fight runes, then I would give her like Determination or something. But I haven't crafted those yet. I'm probably getting to them soon. And she just needs good speed and like a decent amount of resist, right? And she's in the front line. I want to give her a bit more defense. I think I need to grind and enchant some of the runes, because the Fight runes are fairly new, so I'm still trying to find enough grindstones to pimp them all out. But she'll hopefully improve soon, by next month. Okay, moving on, Trevor. So Trevor is built on Vampire Revenge for raid beasts, right? So he's in the front line for a few of the bosses, and it's just because he does a lot of burst damage, and he's pretty tanky, like decently tanky. So he heals himself back up to full. He's pretty self-sustaining when he's on Vampire, and Revenge is so that he can do additional procs for damage and also to buff his attack power as well. right? And also leeching back health when he revenges is always a good thing. So he's a little bit tanky so that, you know, he can survive frontline. So you just want to make sure he doesn't get one shot, and then the stack like attack damage after that. Okay, so moving to Kuma. Kuma's, I think he changed a little bit. He's gained a little bit more HP, I believe, and then some more defense. So he's a bit tankier, basically. Speed is relatively similar to before, I believe, and he's just still on Violent Will. And I still want to looking for some enchants to make him even better. But overall, I'm pretty happy with his runes. He's decently fast, not super fast, but he's fast enough, and pretty tanky. Good crit rate, right? I like having 85 crit rate, so he'll at least always crit win units. Because people will bring a win unit to tank you, and if you crit them, you know, it's more damage, of course, than having like low crit and missing a crit, right? So I guess if I had the choice between speed or crit rate, I would probably value crit rate a little bit more. I guess that's the point I wanted to make. Okay, moving to Huahi. So Huahi's gained some speed, but she's lost a bit of HP. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I kind of want to change it back to a bit tankier, but I'll see next time I do rune removal. And the reason I want her to be a little bit tankier is because sometimes she might die in Necro, and if she dies, obviously the team's gonna wipe. So I want to try to make her a bit tankier if I can. Maybe get it back up to 20k HP. I think that's a good amount. Okay, the Siren hasn't really changed. He's still speed sync to what Field Mars is, and on like the typical Guild War offense utility build, right? You see this build is very commonly used by me, and I quite like it. I think it's pretty good. Like, I've been using it for quite a while now, and I haven't looked back. Alright, Vanessa. So Vanessa, I built her in case I wanted to try her for arena defense, and she's on Violent Will, just like some spare runes with high resist. Right, so I wanted to give her max resist just to make her really annoying, and then just tanky. Right. Okay, Lisa. So Lisa, I think she's a bit less tanky now, which is a bit unfortunate. She's also a little bit slower. The reason is because I swapped her from Endure to Fight runes, and the Endure sets I had on Endure set I had on her was really OP. Right, it had really good substats. These Fight runes, not so much. But I wanted to put as many units on Fight as I could in my raid team, so I made the effort to swap her out into Fight. Still, like, survives okay. I think she just needs some grindstones. Like, for example, this one I could use a HP grind to swap out probably the crit damage, and a grindstone for the speed. And this one I need some grindstones as well. But she's like, my raid team's still pretty good. Not as tanky for people that I need to carry though, but if everyone is at the similar level in runes as I am, in contribution, then the run is still pretty smooth, right? It just makes it a bit harder for slower runs sometimes. Okay, so Rakuni, he's I think a little bit tankier now, because some of the Nemesis runes got poached from units that didn't need it anymore, and so he's built for arena offense, right? I haven't used that as much recently, mostly because the Sierras are not like by themselves, like in terms of threat. Usually they're paired with like a Fielmars or a Perna, so it's hard. I haven't been using this Akoma team as much, but obviously I still want to build him in case I want to use it against it, right? And I think he's a pretty good unit considering he's a net 3. Okay, Bulldozer. So Bulldozer, I've changed him a bit, I believe. So he used to be on double guard, but he wasn't really changing it to like the shield build. I believe he's doing like a bit more damage now. It's these sets, or like these runes, I should say, and his stats get him to about 19.5k average to 20k per hit. So in total, it's about 39 to 40k HP, 40k damage, I should say, which is enough to kill like Veramos, most Chasoons, Velajules, and those are like the main units I would use against. Monkey Kings as well, except maybe not like a full tank with Monkey. That's probably the only thing they might struggle with. Okay, new patch hype, Rakan. So, as expected, I wanted to try him, right? So I gave him some pretty good, like decent vampire runes. I would like to give him better ones if I can, but these are the best I could give him at the moment, and it's still pretty decent, I think. And I put him on HP, crit damage HP, just for, you know, max collapse, right? Well, I wanted to scale his collapse, and he's a sort of unit that scales both on attack and attack and HP. So it's really nice to give him some attack substats where possible, you know, a combination of attack and HP, because he does self buff attack. So if you can give him some good attack percent substats, that will help, you know, scale his damage a bit, like a fair bit, especially because he's self buffing. So far he's been working pretty decent. I've only used him a little bit on offense, but he's pretty nice. If you can tank like a weak water unit that doesn't do much damage, he just adds like a bit of extra damage for when he procs collapse. Obviously he'll probably glance against the water guy, but you know, any extra damage is welcome, and he heals with Vampire. So I think to me, I feel Vampire is the best set for him, especially if you put him on AD. So if people try to Lucian you because the rest of your units are water, and your Rakan survives, you know, they'll try to hit your Rakan, and every time they do, they have a chance to proc collapse, and collapsing Lucian does a lot of damage, and he'll heal a fair bit too. So he'll sustain himself pretty well. So I feel he's in like a much better place now than he used to be. I think people were a bit skeptical. I mean, I was skeptical about how good he would be after that change as well. But it's a lot better than I originally thought it would be. So I'm happy that he's at least getting some love, like some use, right? And yeah, just generally some love from Homunculus. Okay, Zhongfei. Zhongfei finally awakened him, right? He's been unawakened for a long time, but I only built him as like a backup for if we have no defense lead. I really prefer not to use him because I feel I still need DS to protect my team a bit with his passive, because my team's already still very vulnerable, right? So if I take up DS, you know, and lose his passive, then it might be a bit tougher for me to stay alive. But I would like to change the Zhongfei later to have the determination runes. So maybe like double determination if possible, or determination fight would be fine too. And that way, even though I'm giving up the DS passive, at least he's providing like group defense, defense percent, you know. And therefore, in those cases, I might be okay with swapping DS around with Zhongfei. Right? And the other thing with DS has much better runes, right? He's faster, does a little bit more damage than Zhongfei does as well. Okay, Sekhmet. So Sekhmet, I changed her back to Swift. She used to be on Despair, but I changed her back to Swift because I wanted to use her a bit more on AD, and for AD, I think she's better on Swift. She's not as fast as I would like it to be. I want her to be at least 270, preferably higher, but I'll need to work on finding some runes to get her that fast. Not easy to do, but yeah, she's there. I usually use her for arena defense prior to rush hour, right? So when I want to just like hold my ranking like decently, I put her into my defense then. Okay, Zyros. I changed him to speed sync him with, so he moves after Peace Armor. The reason I made him move after Peace Armor is because I want Peace Armor to reset first, and then Zyros to be the backup. Although I would generally prefer, actually I would say I would prefer Zyros to do it first, but in the case where there's will runes, I want Peace Armor to try to remove the will runes, right? And therefore Zyros can reset, because sometimes it'll be awkward if there's a Perna there with will runes. So piece of armor can has a chance to remove that, and then Zyros can reset the Perna. And yeah, I put him on Will so that I can use him on Guild Wars offense. Alright, Bernard hasn't really changed. I actually haven't touched his runes because I still haven't found an upgrade from Giants. I've been spamming like thousands of crystals and still have not found a single Swift rune worth keeping, right? So I'll just only briefly touch on him. Alright, Delphoy. So Delphoy is on Swift Will, and this is just I use her as the defense lead when I need to use do extra damage against coppers, right? So sorry, not coppers, Hordams. So when I use copper against Hordam, right, just to make sure that my copper can kill the Hordam for sure. I think eventually I'm going to change it to double the determination once I get in good enough quality runes, because I don't need her to be that fast. Just like moderately fast, maybe I can drop her down to like 180, 190, no problem, right? But I'll just have her on Swift at the moment. Rakaja, so this is another new unit, and I actually talked about him during my win raid discussion, but he's on Violent Fight. So Violent is because the win boss doesn't need or doesn't have the turn scaling ability, right? So it's not that bad to have him on Violent, although it does reduce the amount of damage I do on the groggy stage, but it makes it safer during the normal phases, because because the boss does a lot of damage and heal blocks, or sorry, not heal block, but like he reduces healing done, and therefore if you can heal a bit more often, it will help keep your team up. And fight runes is because I had spare fight runes, and I thought might as well have him add a bit of damage to my team. Okay, Lucian. So Lucian, this is another big overhaul. He used to be about 240 speed and 70 crit rate, but I changed him to make him about 200 speed and max crit rate. This way I use him with Megan instead of Seek, and the reason is because it sort of helps me focus my runes a bit, and also because I can just use one team against Leo teams as well. So I can just do Bernard, Megan, double Lucian. I don't bother swapping Seek around, and it's still good against normal teams where I'm trying to outspeed them. So also this one's on Despair. I've just so happened to find like a decent Despair set, and I actually quite like this set, like having the Despair set, because there's nothing like nothing as good as stunning things like a Praha or Amdu at turn 1. It just helps make things a little bit safer, like reduce that RNG level, especially when you don't know whether they're gonna cut in, right? It's not obviously not 100% foolproof, but it's just a nice additional effect. Okay, this is my Brian. So Brian, I think he's gained a little bit of speed. Apart from that, not much else, and he's just on Despair Revenge. So this build is good for Guild Wars. For Guild Wars, you want to make him a little bit like decently fast as well. It's like pretty easy to get him fast actually, because his base speed is pretty good, and just triple HP for tankiness. Ameda. So Ameda is for Guild Wars offense. I've actually been using him a little bit more recently, especially against Sierra, Perna, Orion. So the way I tackled that team is to use Galleon, Zyros, and Ameda. Ameda is there to tank the Perna, and therefore I can have Galleon tank the Sierra with through the Will runes, and then Zyros can move after that, right? Ideally, Orion should move first, and Promise Prank, and everyone on the opposing team will move, and therefore I don't need to worry about Will runes. But if the Orion derps, it can be a bit awkward. That's the only thing. But generally, it's not too bad. Okay, Orochi. So Orochi, I took him out of storage just today, actually. And the reason I took him out is because I wanted to use him for Giants B10. Just make my team a bit safer. The reason it's a bit safer is because he does all the continuous damage, so it sort of protects against when the boss will move. Because sometimes when the boss moves, if he happens to get his normal attack and does the AoE, it can wipe my team. But if he does get to that point, hopefully at least Orochi's put some dots on him, and therefore he'll just die to the dots, where he's pretty low. And he actually doesn't have max crit rate. As people probably know, Orochi's third skill requires him to crit to add the dots. But the Giant's boss is actually, he's a water unit, right? So therefore Orochi will always crit him with 85% crit rate or higher. And therefore that's why I gave him... well, actually, to be honest, when I built him, he was just there to carry spare runes. But it just so happens that they work okay for Giants, so maybe I'll rebuild him as well, like just to make him a little bit better. But all you really need is some HP on him. You don't even need to worry about speed that much. Then 85 crit rate or higher. If you can't get 100%, 85 is perfectly fine, because the trash waves, you don't really care if you crit or not. You'll kill them easily. And then try to give him some decent accuracy. Doesn't need to be max, but at least like decently high. Maybe 60% higher or higher would be good. The minimum, I'd say, like at least 60%. Okay, Chasun hasn't changed since last time, except for a little bit of grind. So I think she gained a little bit of HP and defense. I think from slot this one, slot 3, and yeah. So I use her for PvP mostly now. She's also in my safe R5 team, but it's really not that much safer than my Yang team. Okay, so this is Aquila. So Aquila is, I synced him to move before Galleon, right? So if I'm giving up turn 1, I run Aquila over Bernard, and he's on shield will. Ideally he would be on double shield, but I don't have enough shield runes to get him to the speed I need him to be at. But yeah, will is for obvious purposes, and I gave him accuracy just to give him the best chance to strip buffs, right? Because that's all I really care about him, or mainly care about him for turn 1. You can put him with despair as well, but if you... I would advise against it, because I think shield runes are much better to protect your team, especially if you're giving up turn 1 anyway. But if you're doing a speed offense, then you don't really need him to be on accuracy. Oh, sorry, you don't really need him to be on shield, so you could give him something else, like despair. Okay, this is my Copper. So Copper, he's only gained a little bit of damage, right? The reason he gained a little bit of damage is because I regrinded some of the runes, and like bumped up his damage a bit from that. And also I think I changed this rune already last time, but I swapped one of the like stats to flat defense to just give him as much defense as possible. And this one hits for last time I did it, he did 54k. I'm not sure if he reached 55k yet on offense, like Guild Wars offense, including flags. That's with max crit damage flag and level 6 defense, I believe. It's either level 5 or 6. And with Delphi lead, the highest I saw was, I believe, 59 or 60k. So pretty much no hot arm has survived yet. I haven't seen one survive. Okay, Fuko. So Fuko, he hasn't really changed. He's on Violent Revenge for Necro 10. Right, so I'm just going to go through this real quick. I'm actually taking quite a while on this rune video, so I'll try to speed up a bit more. Okay, Monkey King. So Monkey King, I switched him back to Destroy. So I haven't actually tried him out on Guild Wars defense yet, right, with this build, but I changed it back to Destroy in case I put him on defense, and that way if there is like a Camilla or something taking him, then at least he can slowly destroy the HP and make it harder for them to take my monkey forever, right? And this is my Emissary. I think he's gained like a little bit of speed, but I try to make him one of my faster units because I use him on Guild Wars offense a lot, and I want to make sure that he'll outspeed like most segments. I think there's only like 1 or 2 cements that I've seen that are faster than my immensity so far. Alright, second Lucian. Alright, so second Lucian, these are his stats, and he's on will, right? So the main thing was to have the will set so that when after the first Lucian moves, if something cuts in, like an Amduat or a Nemesis Veramos, then at least my Lucian is protected against it, right? Against the stuns and stuff like that. Ideally, the first Lucian will be on will as well, but I only have enough will runes to make one Lucian, right? So, well, at the moment, because I need a lot of will runes for other units. As for the other sets, he's on broken, obviously, but ideally, I'll give him like fight runes or like fatal rage or something like that. But broken sets are fine as well, as long as it gets you to the stats that you require. Adela. So Adela, I'm only using at the moment in the Water Beast raid, and she's pretty good for that if you build her for speed. So she needs to be on a fast set so that she removes the frozen effect as soon as possible or as fast as possible. And I give her vampire just to give her some extra self-sustain. And also in case I use her in raids, but I think she's a bit too squishy at the moment to use her in raids. So if you want to use her in raids, make sure you give her more defense and HP, because you can see her base stats are not very good, or at least not her defensive ones. Alright, third Lucian. This Lucian is for Necro. This one also is unskilled. Ideally, I want to skill him up, but I just don't have the Jokers yet. Hopefully there'll be a Joker HOH coming up sometime in the near future. Maybe the water one, so that's like 4 months away probably. But yeah, he's just on Double Blade Revenge just to get him the stats I need him to be at. He doesn't. Well, I think ideally he'll be on like Fatal or something like that, or like Fight runes. Even Enhanced runes would be nice just to give your Necro team a bit more survivability. I just haven't crafted them yet. But if I do craft some good DPS ones, I'll probably throw it onto this one. Alright, the Shard's runes hasn't changed at all, except for maybe some grindstones. Like I might have over grinded some of them to try to get the max rolls. Okay, so Eladriel, I rebuilt him for Guild Wars defense. Violent Will, I think Nemesis would be fine too. I'm not sure whether it's better or not. I'll probably see whether, or like what stats I can give him with a Violent Nemesis build later on. Because as long as he has good resist, then Nemesis is actually pretty good for him. But I'll put him on Will at the moment just because, like, I'm a dick like that. So I like to troll people with Will runes, mess up the AO. Okay, Bella. So Bella, I built him for Guild Wars defense. The goal was to make Bastet, Grogo, Bella as a team, but it wasn't working out. I was just getting wrecked. So I'll probably just give up on that idea. I'll make Grogo a tank, probably, instead, and just use him for Guild Wars offense. And Bella, probably go back to the bench, because I don't really need Bella at the moment. But obviously he's a great early game unit. So if you were to build him, I would build him something similar to this. Doesn't have to be a Will. Will is good for PvP, but you know, if you don't have Will, you can give him Nemesis, Focus, or Energy, or Broken sets. Like anything will work, as long as the main set is of Violent. Swift works well too if you don't have good Violent runes as like a alternative. Okay, Iona. I think she hasn't changed much. I haven't put her on Guild Wars defense yet because I was testing the other team out, but it didn't get enough testing because only 9 guilds put us last week. So I'm gonna test it a bit more this week first before I go back to putting Iona on the team. But she's pretty, like, she's got good stats, good for world boss obviously. Okay, Akroma. So Akroma, I think her damage got reduced a little bit, but I have her on Violent Destroy because I think some of her destroyers might have moved. I can't remember, but she's just there just to do like moderate amount of damage against Sierra and just kill her eventually. especially with a heal block from Kuma will help a lot. But yeah, I would like to eventually change her to a tank as well for AD purposes. I guess I'll see whether how well Grogo works out later on as like a tank with a bit of damage, whether it's enough damage to to kill Sierras while there's a healer on there. I'll test that out. If it's enough, then I'll probably change my Chroma to make her for AD. For now, she's like a bruiser. Sometimes I use her in Guild Wars offense to take a Jultan as well. Gemini, don't look at these runes yet. I 6-star him, but I was supposed to put him back in storage. But I might be building him later on. We'll see. But if you're gonna build him, put him on Despair and probably Nemesis as an offset, ideally. Don't give him Will, and try not to put Shield on your team as well. So that's the thing with Gemini. He's a good monster, but he limits the way that you build your units, right? Because if you have Will or Shield on your team, or at least on Gemini, then he may not remove buffs, because he has to have 0 buffs on him basically to make sure he has to have less than an opponent, right? So having 0 obviously means he's going to strip someone. But yeah, keep maybe next week, keep a watch out. If you want a suggestion on how to build him, let me know, and I'll discuss that in the comments. Okay, Hwadam. So Hwadam, I dropped his resist a little bit, but I think he gained some HP since last time. So now he's at what, 51.5k. Hopefully I can try to boost that a little bit more later on, but these are his runes at the moment. And basically I just want to make him as tanky as possible, right? So that's why he's got energy runes, and the will rune is to make him, protect him, right? Turn 1. Especially against things like cleave comps, right? So yeah, that's why he's built like that. Okay, Grogo. So Grogo, I made him really fast, like decent crit rate, good crit damage, and like an okay amount of defense. But he's on a bunch of broken sets. I had to give him broken, like mixed sets. Ideally, I would want him on Violent or Vampire, but I couldn't. I didn't have the runes for it, so I put him on like this sort of set. Not really working at the moment for me, so I'll probably change him to something like defense or triple defense, or defense crit rate / crit damage, and then defense slot 6, something like that. But we'll see next time I do Rune before, maybe this weekend if I have time. Alright, Diaz. So Diaz, I changed him. So he used to be on crit damage slot 4, but you can notice here that he has much less crit damage now, and that's because I wanted to make him fast and tanky, right? Instead of a damage dealer. So, and also because I put him on fight runes. So he still scales like okay with attack, especially these fight runes. But I wanted to make him fast so that he heal blocks more often, and yeah. So I wanted also to give him some more utility in the form of fight runes. And the revenge set, of course, is just to give that extra proc, to hit the boss with, and like additional chance to heal block, and bit of free damage as well. Okay, Veromos. So Veromos, I built him just for TOA at the moment. He's not on like very high priority runes because all I really use him for is TOA. But he's actually pretty decent on things like Guild War defense if you have the right units for it. Don't disregard what kind of damage he can do. So he's good with something like an Orion and a Beast Monk. That's a very common build. I'm not gonna bother with the Jultans because I haven't been really using him, but you've probably seen that many times. They're all just like max resist with resist lead and high HP, like 40k plus HP on all of them. Alright, so move. I also wanted to save some time. So Beta, I actually don't use it at the moment because I found a more safe team. I used to use like Theo Iona better, and now I use Theo Jasun Chloe instead. against things like will teams. Oh, sorry, not will teams, Orion teams. But she's on double Nemesis will because I wanted to try her out on this build for arena defense purposes. So ideally, she'll cut in after a Nemesis. After proccing Nemesis against the first Lucian, and then she can cut in and do the anti-crit and also the heal as well. Finally, duet. I feel like this video is way over an hour. My bad. So he hasn't really changed. He's on Despair will. Doesn't have to be will. He can be on Nemesis as well, or I guess Broken Set will work too. Main thing is put him on Despair. Right? I think that's the best set for him. Just giving them that additional utility and just to further annoy the opponent. Because he's cutting in. He'll push attack bars back, but like if you can stun as well, that's also like wrecking their arena offense, right? Or at least their sequencing. Alright, so that's finally all the units that I runed up for like mainly PvP and PvE purpose, like some PvE purposes. I didn't bother showing things like wall boss units, but I guess for those, you sort of know what you should do. Just put your most efficient runes on your 6-star monsters, preferably water. Apart from that, I think that's it. I think this video's gone on long enough, so my bad for it's so long. If it does bother anyone, let me know, and I'll try to keep it shorten it even more next time. I did try to keep it short this time actually, but there's still a lot of stuff to talk about. I can maybe skip units I just didn't change at all if people don't mind checking old videos for the previous stats. Maybe I'll do that next time actually. Now that I think about it, it's probably a good idea. Alright, anyway, that's it for me now. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.